In 2019, Cody Rhodes would lose his only opportunity at the AEW World Championship. This was due to MJF throwing in the towel when Rhodes was in the walls of Jericho before betraying Cody and turning heel on a wrestler he looked up to as a mentor. The stipulation going into this match as set forth by Cody himself was that if he was to lose, he would never wrestle for the AEW World Championship again. This was, in my opinion, a stupid mistake. It's a mistake I can understand, though. Cody has said himself that the reason he did it is he didn't want to be criticized the same way his father and other promoters of his father's era were criticized for booking themselves to be constantly in the main event. And to be fair, no one really throws that criticism at Cody now. Maybe if he had booked himself in the main event scene more in AEW, he would receive similar criticisms. But avoiding that criticism came at the expense of a feud that would have been very good for AEW, particularly in those difficult early days of establishing a wrestling promotion. See, at that time, we hadn't actually seen Cody Rhodes frequently featured on American and Western television in a main event environment competing for the World Championship. Cody was treating his time in AEW as a time to help younger stars get over, and he managed to do so with relative success. But Cody wasn't a grizzled old veteran at the end of his career. Cody should have been at his peak, competing for the big prize as one of their biggest stars. At the time, the biggest AEW draws were Cody Rhodes, Chris Jericho, a few of the indie darlings, and I guess Jack Swagger was there. And it was during this feud that Cody would cut one of the best promos in his career, which Jim Cornette would refer to as a modern-day Hard Times promo in reference to Dusty Rhodes. The promo would also garner praise on Twitter from The Rock. This was great publicity for AEW at the time, to receive compliments from one of the biggest mainstream stars and a wrestling legend, as well as praise from The Rock. I'm not saying Cody should have beat Jericho at Full Gear either. I wouldn't actually change much about how Full Gear itself went. I would just change the stipulation. Have it. So that if Cody loses to Jericho, he's at the back of the line and has to work his way through the roster to compete for the World Championship again. If you think that Cody Rhodes being screwed out of a world title and continuing his pursuit for a long time afterwards wouldn't make for great television and storytelling, I direct you to the past year of WWE. I also think Chris Jericho was sort of in his element here, with his inner circle being somewhat reminiscent of Evolution. A heel champion at the helm with a crew of younger heel upstarts, including a giant beast who doesn't talk much. This was a great dynamic. And to be honest, the Jericho Appreciation Society never had the same ring to it as the original Inner Circle did. In fact, the Jericho Appreciation Society in some ways felt like a parody of the Inner Circle. I still think one of the coolest moments in AEW history was Cody Rhodes chasing down Jericho and the Inner Circle through the arena, smashing glass to get through the doors. It was absolute chaos, and it was awesome. Cody definitely has a point when he says he doesn't want to come off as the sort of guy to book himself and only himself to glory, but he was emblematic of what AEW felt like it stood for in the early days. He had a better mind for wrestling than the other EVP wrestlers at the time. And let's face it, it's not like other wrestlers with booking power didn't to some degree benefit themselves with it in AEW. I mean, all's well, that ends well, because we finally see Cody on his championship pursuit in WWE, but it does make you wonder when you see the success that the angle with Roman has had in WWE, what could this angle have been in AEW? Either way, let's make it a general rule for startup wrestling companies that you don't book your biggest star out of competition for the world title. I know I wasn't the only one watching as a fan in the early days who wanted Cody Rhodes to one day dethrone Chris Jericho. For the World Championship, AEW made it clear that was never going to happen. Instead, we got Cody as TNT champion a couple times, and to be honest, I don't really care about the TNT championship. I care about as much as I care about the International Championship or the Continental Championship. These titles might have cool names, but they mean nothing, and they're at this point a little oversaturated. Cody Rhodes as a world champion for AEW would have been a very big story, but instead, Cody relegated himself to putting the youth over. Cody has since admitted himself that this was a mistake, that he should have allowed himself to be in the world title picture, and in my opinion, for the good of AEW, that would have been a better idea. Anyway, what do you guys think? Am I right in thinking he should have had more of a long-term feud with Jericho? Should we have seen him as AEW World Champion, or did Cody make the right choice in leaving the spotlight for other wrestlers to shine in? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Also subscribe for the algorithm and all that jazz. I've been Sarcastic Mark. See you next time, Muppets.